Today what we're going to be talking about is solving equations with fractions. In the last video and in the last lessons, we've talked about how to multiply and divide fractions. And at the beginning of the year, we talked about solving equations. Today what we're going to do is we're going to combine these two ideas into solving equations that involve fractions. So, in order to eliminate a fraction next to a variable, because that's always our goal, is to get the variable by itself, you will have to multiply both sides of the equation by the reciprocal of the fraction. Now, if you recall, the reciprocal of a fraction is just turning the fraction upside down. Okay? So it says this will isolate the variable and one side of the equation. So, as you can see, I'll just move down. I have 1/5 n equals 1/2. And my goal is to solve for n. So I'm going to multiply both sides the reciprocal of 1/5. Why on earth would we want to do that? Well, when we're actually looking at this particular part of the equation, the 1/5 n, the relationship here is that they're being multiplied. So technically we're dividing both sides by 1/5, but that's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So we just skip that step and say we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. Okay? So we want to isolate it by itself. So if you notice, we can multiply 1/5 by the reciprocal, 5/1, and those go away. The refractions reduce, cancel each other out, leaving n by itself. And then we just have to multiply 1/2 times 5/1 on this side. So that I can say, all the way down here, 5/1 times 5 is 5, 2 times 1 is 2. So then I have 5/2, or 2 and 1/2. Okay? I am okay with your answers being improper fractions in these particular problems because in order to check your work, you are actually going to need to plug the improper fraction back in if you ever were to check it or want to check it. So you might as well just keep it that way. Okay? So let's try one on our own. I have 1/3 n equals 15. My first step is to get this n by itself. So I'm going to multiply both sides by its reciprocal, and the reciprocal of 1/3 is 3/1. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, because whatever I do to one side of the equation or one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other side. So then my 3's go away, my fractions go away on this side, so I'm left with n equals 15 times 3 is 45. Technically it's over, technically it would then be 1 times 1, so it'd be 45/1, but that's the same thing as 45, so we can just keep that as our answer. And we are done. Very, very, very simple. All right. Now, what if my fraction includes a variable? Okay, what if my fraction includes a variable, like this particular example right here? We have 6/r equals 1/2. Okay, all you need to do is do the exact same thing, is multiply by the reciprocal of whatever this top number is. This reciprocal of 6/r is really r/6, but since the goal is to isolate the variable, turning the r into 1 and then multiplying the reciprocal helps. So we know every variable has an invisible 1 right here. So I'm actually going to then multiply by my reciprocal of both sides, which in this case is 1/6. 1/6. My 6's go away. So then I'm left actually with 1/r equals 1/2 times 1/6, which we know is going to be 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 6 is 12. Okay, so then I'm ended up with 1 over r equals 1 over 12. Now, one of the things you should notice right away is we're not done. Our r is on the bottom of our fraction. We can't do that. So we can actually do something that's really, really easy. We can actually just flip the two. So notice how I just took the reciprocal of both this side of the equation and the reciprocal of this side of the equation. And I was able to get r over 1 equals 12 over 1, which is the same as r equals 12. Plug it back in, check it, easy as that. All right, so for example, I have y over 4 equals 3 over 11. So I'm going to multiply both sides by my reciprocal. Remember, I have an invisible 1 here, so I can multiply it by 4 over 1, multiply by 4 over 1. Remember, I always have to do it on both sides. These go away, and I'm left with y equals 3 times 4 is 12. 11 times 1 is 11. And I'm okay with you just keeping it like this. If you really, really wanted to and turn it into a mixed fraction, it would be 1 and 1/11. Okay. All right, last example. This one is just another practice one. I would take a moment, pause me, try and work it out on your own. It's really good practice for you, okay? All right, so the first thing you should have done is multiplied by the reciprocal of both sides of 1/6. So I'm left with x equals 4 times 6, which is 24, oh, excuse me, over 15 times 1, which is 15. All right, and then I can even reduce that. Both these go into 3, so I'm going to have 8 over 5. And that would be my final answer. Okay? All right, so please make sure you completely understand how to solve equations with fractions in them. It's very, very important for not just this class, but for algebra, and then eventually when you get into algebra 2. All right? Please come to class with any questions.